Greetings from Zurich, Switzerland, y'all. It's your boy on my way to Rio De Janeiro, Brazil. I'm here at the airport, just getting ready to check into my flight going to Sao Paulo first. So come and join me. Hope you have a good time with me on the flight. Let's go to motherfucking Rio. Let's go. Stop the show. I know you're wanting to watch me have a great time in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. But the name of this video is called How to Travel to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil for the First Time. So with that being said, I need to give you some tips to make your first trip to Brazil a very easy and less complicated as possible, or the least complicated as possible if I can. First of all, if you are a U.S. passport holder, you know, that blue U.S. passport, that U.S. passport, you got to know that you do need a visa to go to Brazil. Now, let's talk about the two types of visas that you can get. The first is the paper visa, where you go to an embassy, you give them your passport, you give them some other documentation, you pay $160 US. They take about, 1 to 2 to 3 weeks. They send your passport back and bam, there's your visa. It's good for 10 years. Now, me, as you guys know, I live in Poland, so I don't really know where the visa place is in Warsaw. I know it's somewhere for the consulate, but the truth of the matter is it's like 4 hours by train to get to Warsaw, Poland, where I live. And then I have to take my passport there and leave it there and come back. And it's too much of a risk for me, right? But the government of Brazil introduced the e-visa. Okay. And what does that mean? That means that you can apply online if you are a U.S. citizen passport holder, if you have certain documents in place. What does that mean? Well, if you have, number one, passport photos, right? And here's the thing. You got to make sure that your passport photos are legit, because they will reject your application, as they did mine twice before I actually got it right. And then you need a scanned copy of your passport, and you send that in, and boom, you get the visa, the paper e-visa rather. They send it to you electronically within about 10 days. Okay. So let me just first of all give a shout out to www.ivisa.com. It's right there on the screen. They handled the process for me. Now the prices have gone up, it seems like, right? For me, it was $79, $44 for the Brazilian fee, and $35 for the processing fee. But it seems like they went up a little bit. It's $44 for the fee, and then for them to process it, it's $50. But they will definitely get the job done. Great company to go through. Pay the $94 if you want to do that. So shout out to www.ivisa.com. Get the passport photos, do all of that. And trust me, you will definitely not regret it. They have excellent service. They email you all the time if something is wrong, and you can communicate directly with them. Another important thing, if not the most important thing you're going to need in Brazil, is a prepaid cell phone SIM card. Okay. This is very, very, very important for you to have, because this can either really make or break your trip. Now, there are a lot of guys who go to Brazil and they just use the Wi-Fi in certain places. And when they can't get the Wi-Fi, they don't have access to a phone. That's a miserable way to really travel in Brazil, especially in your first time with everything being in Portuguese. So I'm going to give you a few pointers on trying to get a SIM card. Now, I was lucky enough for when I got to the Santos Dumont airport, one of the workers there, she called me an Uber on her phone, and the guy just so happened to speak English, right? So shout out to that guy. His name was Alan. What I did was I offered him some money to take me to the mall and stay with me. I gave him about 120 reais for that. It was about a 2-hour thing. That's pretty good money for him. And he took me through the process of registering a SIM card in his, let's say, Brazilian social security number. It's a particular number that they have, and it was a really great thing for him to do for me. We kept going to a lot of Vivo stores. Now, there are a few carriers, Vivo, TIM, Claro, and I'll talk about those, just kind of briefly. But every time we went to a Vivo store, and there's like 3 or 4 of them in the Rio del Sol Mall, they were saying like, oh, we can't do it, or go here or go there. And I was kind of getting the impression that these guys were giving us the runaround. But the most important thing was, if I didn't have this guy who spoke Portuguese, I wouldn't have been able to really get a SIM card, or it would have been, I think, more difficult process to do. So if you can get a guy that speaks English and Portuguese, it's really beneficial. And let me kind of start off with that right now so that you guys can understand who you can go with. Number one guy is Obi-Wan, right? Obi-Wan heads the Favela Brothers tour. I did a tour with him in the Rocinha favelas. I want to give you guys his number here on WhatsApp. So if you want to schedule a tour, or you need somebody that you can kind of contact, actually we'll hit him on Facebook first. It's the Favela Brothers here on Facebook there. You can hit him up and message him and schedule an appointment, tell him you're coming. And there's another guy that drives Uber, wonderful man, by the name of James Schulten, right? And it doesn't sound like a Portuguese name because it's not. He's actually Dutch, and he speaks perfect English, perfect Dutch, and perfect Portuguese. And this is a guy who, can pick you up from the airport. He can take you around. He can drive you around places. He can help set up the SIM card for you, things of this nature. And this is his information right here as far as the WhatsApp. He's also an Uber driver. So if you make plans with him, before you go, he can, pick you up from the airport. Make sure you take care of him pretty good, man, because he's a nice guy, and he can take you anywhere that you need to go during your trip. Let's talk about the cell phone carriers. Again, Vivo, TIM, and Claro. So I have an article here in the description called www.finder.com/best prepaid SIM cards in Brazil. And this article was a lifesaver because once I got my SIM card from TIM, I had a very difficult time replenishing the balance. And because I couldn't replenish the balance, I couldn't use it for a few hours. It's not that I didn't have the money, but I just didn't know how to do it. So I was able to download this app called Mobile Recharge. And Mobile Recharge, pretty much what it did was I can put the phone number in, and then I could, get the money to the phone number. And then I was able to go down and look at the charts and, text certain things to get a data plan. Like, for example, here's a monthly package I used. It was 5 gigabytes for 69 reals. All I had to do was text 5 GB to 4141. And I had no idea how to do that until I had this article. So if you go with Claro, if you go with TIM, TIM, or Vivo, they have like pretty much all the things in English that you need to do to activate a data plan with them. And you can use Mobile Recharge if you don't know how to, in Portuguese, go up to a place and replenish your cell phone card. All of this is like huge information to save you a lot of time and make your trip go like a lot smoother. I would recommend that if you can get in contact with like Obi-Wan or James and ask them, could they get your SIM card ahead of time? So when you come, you'll have everything set up and you're kind of ready to go and ready to rock and roll. Now that you got the e-visa, right? What I need you to do is very simple. Go print it out in color, not black and white, but color. Okay. Print out, I would say 2 to 3 copies of it just in case you lose one. Take it with you. When you check your luggage into whatever airport you're flying in, they will not let you even check your luggage in without having a copy of the e-visa or the visa in your passport. So they're gonna ask you that multiple times before you get on the plane going to Brazil and before you actually check your luggage in. So you want to make sure that you do that to make everything great. Show that. Otherwise, you won't be able to board the flight, and that will totally suck. All right, as you see, I landed here in Sao Paulo Brazil, which was my first entry port into Brazil. And I made a very, 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 very huge mistake. And what was that mistake? It's a very good question. Number one, I failed to realize that my airline was changing from Swiss to LATAM. Okay. And when I got to Sao Paulo, I did go through passport control, but failed to go through customs. So here's what I want to know for you, or want you to know. If you have, let's say, American Airlines, and American Airlines is flying you all the way to Rio de Janeiro, despite how many stops you make, you still got to go through passport control. You still got to go through customs. But the mistake I made is when you go to the first point of entry into a country, that means if you land in Sao Paulo first or another part of Brazil first before you get to Rio, you need to go through customs. Now, if you are changing air carriers like I was and didn't know it, you have to go through customs, pick up your bags, right? Check your bags back in as if you're going into a new flight, because you are, and then board the aircraft, okay? What I did was I didn't go through customs, didn't pick up my shit, okay? And then I just got on the plane after passport control as everything was cool, got to Rio de Janeiro, had no luggage. So it took me an extra day to get my luggage, right? So just imagine been flying for like 20 something hours, need to change underwear. All my underwear is in the my damn suitcase and everything else. So you can just imagine that was a shitty first day, literally. All right. So just make sure that you know how many airlines you're going to be traveling with. Go through customs if you're going to that country. Pick your bag up if you're changing airlines. Check your bags in, and don't make that mistake that I made. It is a terrible one. Okay. All right. So let's talk power sockets, because this is important. So if you go to Brazil, they have a 3-prong system, which is very interesting. They call it the type N power socket. You're looking at it right now on the screen. Also, a European power socket will work in this system too if you have it. But I would suggest before you go to Brazil, you want to get into your place and automatically just kind of charge up if you can. So try to order the type N power socket for Brazil before you get there, so that you can charge your phone. You want to be able to charge your laptops and all that stuff, because you'll be traveling for a pretty long time if you're coming from Europe or from the United States. So just kind of order these things ahead of time, so once you get there, your trips can be like a lot more smooth, and you can pretty much do all of that. You don't have to run around going to the malls and looking for this shit either. So this is the type of power socket you're looking at on the screen. You'll need this, okay? So your plug systems that you from America will not work in Brazil. So go ahead and use this, and you can use your USB or cords to attach to it and plug in that way. That way you don't have to risk your burning out your appliances or your laptops or anything. So just keep that in mind. Order these on Amazon.com. It's a good place to do it, and have these bad boys before you get there, and you're good. All right, so let's talk housing, okay? So depending on why you're going to Rio, you may want to stay in a hotel, or you might want to do the Airbnb. I always use Airbnb because I want to be comfortable. I don't like the feel of hotels. But if you like hotels, just be almost sure, usually in Rio de Janeiro, they're not going to let you bring guests back, hint, hint, women back to your place. In that case, you might want to try Airbnb, okay? Now, those are, private apartments or rooms or stuff like that. Now, I want to give a special shout out to Raphael. I stayed at his place in Ipanema Beach. It was right across the street from Ipanema Beach. 10 seconds, as far as a walk. It was kind of costly for, I would say like 6 nights. I spent about over $840 to stay here. But Raphael is an awesome guy. For those of you who need his phone number or WhatsApp, you can email me. I'll definitely get it to you. But as you see on the screen, they have wonderful pictures. Now, here's what I will say. He did have, you can see that the monkeys outside and stuff like that. Now, he did have a lot of kind of mosquitoes by the trees, right? And this is something that you got to know about going to Brazil or Rio for the first time. you will get bit by a lot of damn mosquitoes. So you want to make sure you get that mosquito spray on your body and take care of that, because they will hit you, they will attack you. Now let's talk about, most people stay in Ipanema Beach or Copacabana. Copacabana is like right, kind of down the street or around the corner, if you want to say that. Now, as far as exchanging money, okay, I made the mistake of exchanging money in Ipanema Beach. Never exchange money in Ipanema, okay? You should go through Copacabana. Copacabana has the best rates, the best cambios, CAMBIO, they call those the exchange rate places. Now, here's something like funny about the Forex places in Rio. When I went to Uganda or even in Poland or, certain places, they have the exchange rates outside visibly that you can see. So like what to compare them to, what the against the dollar at these exchange places, and typically in Copacabana they're coupled with other businesses. So a person that does an exchange rate could also do a hotel, could also do many other things, tours. So typically they're not just exchange rate places. One of the things they just do, they just kind of do it all in one. But they don't have the Forex exchange rate outside. You have to actually go inside and ask them the rate. There was one situation where I went to a Cambio, and they were both trying to solicit me to come in. I had to ask each individual person what the rate is. It was the same rate at the time. It was 345. So I went and exchanged $100 with one guy, $100 with another guy. So just know that the Forex rates are not outside or somewhere you can see, like in Uganda or in Hungary or, in Poland. You have to actually go in and ask them what the rate is. And so that way you can compare it. So, but just make sure you do it in the Copacabana Beach area. When I exchanged without knowing in Ipanema Beach, I was getting charged like 3.3 to the dollar versus 3.45. So, I lost a pretty good amount of money because I exchanged like $900 or $1,000 when I first got there. So just understand, it's much better to do it in these different types of places in Copacabana Beach area only. Okay.